Get started. Okay. I am Rachael Venema. I own Rachael Venema Photography. I've been in business for 10 years. I've been here in Ripon for 5. I'm going to try not to read this, but I do want to say a lot of these things. So Jolene can feel free to if you guys want to engage with anything that I'm saying, feel free. But yeah, so who is Rachael Venema? I am a special child of God who is a radiant queen that has learned and is still learning to love myself. I love connecting with people and love seeing them just as they are and seeing the impact that they have on this world. First, I'll tell you a little bit about my past and then talk about how I've grown from where I was to where I am today. I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago as the oldest of 7. I was the quiet girl that always hid behind my mom as a young child, and I was very quiet in school. I come from a conservative family, and I was taught that children were to be seen but not heard. And I often helped care for my siblings, basically raising them with a father who was a workaholic and a mother who was taught to just raise babies. But I was the girl who listened. I was able to connect with people one-on-one. I was the one who noticed when people were unnoticeable or were off to the side or were not the center of attention. Only in recent years have I learned to be who I want to be and step out of my comfort zone. The reason I titled this What I Did was because I was the quiet, shy girl growing up that was a bit awkward. I wish I had known then what I know now, that you can be whoever you want to be, and you don't have to be ashamed of who you are, because of each of us are unique, and each of us bring amazing things to this world. We are each here for a purpose. Mine, I believe, is to listen and to connect and to cheer people on. I truly love hearing people's stories and encouraging them to step forward and take that leap into what they dream of doing. In recent years, I've learned that I am special and that I have a purpose on this earth. I never heard those words growing up. And even now, when people tell me that, the words do feel a bit uncomfortable, but I'm learning to embrace them. I want to accept others for who they are and where they are at. I want to listen and I want to hear people's story or what they are going through and encourage them in their walk in life. I want to be free from not being accepted or judged unless you follow these certain rules or do these certain things, or you'll be made fun of or judged or cut off from family and friends. When I got married almost 22 years ago, I had no idea what God had in store for us. In that time, we have moved 5 different locations across the country. Me, the girl who had never moved, my parents still have not moved after 44 years out of my childhood home. It's always good to look back and see God's hand in it all. God brought us to my husband's first teaching job in Washington State for 3 years, Indiana for 5, Chattanooga, Tennessee for 6, Iowa for 2, and now California for 5. The world is now a much bigger place. And the quiet girl who was forced to be the new girl and learn how to create her own community with no family nearby, one is forced to find people to lean on. Thankfully, in each location, God brought people into our lives that we could call on for help, and we were able to be there for them. I've grown so much by learning to be vulnerable with people and learning to reach out for help, which is so hard for us women sometimes. So often we think we need to do it all on our own, but there is such a joy in allowing others to help you and to create a community by doing so. One person I remember in Indiana, I was really, really sick after I had my firstborn, and high blood pressure issues, seeing a heart doctor, I was a mess. And she called me up and said, I'm coming over. And she just vacuumed my whole house. And I was like, oh my word, she's vacuuming my whole house. But I still remember that. She didn't realize what a gift that was, that, oh my goodness, at least my house is vacuumed. As women, we sometimes struggle with being vulnerable. But I want to encourage you that the most beautiful friendships have formed by finding people I can be open with, finding people that have your back no matter what. Don't be scared to reach out and ask, because often the other person is just waiting to help. In November this past year, I got to go to the amazing Radiance Retreat put on by my life coach, Jennifer Kramer. It was mind-blowing. I want to tell you about one of the days we had, so each day she had like a theme, and one of the days she had a breathwork coach come in and do a breathwork exercise with us. I remember the breathwork coach talking to us and telling us what we might experience, and I was like, what in the world are we about to do? She's like, different things might happen. And so imagine a room full of 15 ladies laying down on the floor, breathing to music. I had never done anything like this before. But during that experience, it had been revealed to me in such clarity that I was still holding in, that I had disappointed my dad and was holding that pain in me. After all these years, I thought I had gone through therapy and pushed all that aside, but I also experienced that my Heavenly Father loves me more than I could ever imagine. That evening, Jen had us each release a lotus flower into the pool, and I released all of that pain I had been holding for 21 years. It truly was an incredible experience. One of the things Jen told us about that day was the meaning of a lotus flower, and I think all of us women can relate to this. How a lotus flower is planted in the mud, in the muck, but it rises up and blooms into a beautiful flower. It really resonated with me, how we have trials and pain in life and go through things that are painful and hard, but we grow and learn and still have a beautiful purpose in this life. God can use our pain, our trials, our hardships for His glory, and what a beautiful purpose that is. We often hold so much in. We hold ourselves back from our dreams, our goals. We let fear hold us back from so much. God has given me life experiences that I had never dreamed of. I've met some incredible people in the locations that we have lived, people that became my community, my family, my support system. It is truly incredible what can happen when we get vulnerable with others and let others know when we need help. It builds a special bond with people because there's nothing more amazing than when people support one another. So I've talked about my personal life, and some may wonder how my photography business started. At around 13, I picked up my mom's point-and-shoot film camera and became addicted to taking photos. This was the time when you would drop off film at Walgreens and get duplicates of every print. I loved taking photos wherever I went. In high school, I took a photography class where we learned how to develop film and prints. I used my graduation money to buy an SLR film camera with one lens. I used that camera for many years until things started transition to digital and film was getting more expensive to develop. Then in 2010, when my first child was born, I was able to purchase my first digital SLR. Soon people started asking me to take their photos. A friend I worked with had no money for a photographer for her wedding, so here I am barely understanding how to work my camera, and I photographed her wedding for $200. A year later, her husband suddenly died. We made an album for her before that, after her wedding, and those printed images became absolutely priceless to her. We were in Indiana at that time. We moved to Chattanooga, where I dabbled in photography part-time, but I didn't know the business side of things and knew what I was doing was not sustainable if I ever wanted to run a business. So I signed up for my first education course, which actually no longer exists, but it was called Profitography. Taught me the basics of running a profitable business. Plus, I knew that I wanted to print images for people. As the years have gone by, I've invested in education every single year and grown my business in 3 locations due to moving for my husband's job. I have now been in business for 10 years, and I love connecting with my clients on a deeper level and creating artwork for their families. I never would have imagined that I'd be where I am today. But if you have a dream and there's something you want to try, there's nothing stopping you but yourself. Little by little, I've learned and put things into place to get to where I am. Through failures and setbacks, I still continue to grow and invest in education yearly. Don't let fear of the unknown hold you back. Don't let others' fear hold you back. If you want something bad enough, you will figure out a way to make it work. So I just want to tell you all a little bit to set the story so you understand where I am today. It is now 22 years later. My 22nd wedding anniversary is in July. I grew up in a community of judgment and often felt shame that I was never good enough. And I now feel like I have found freedom. Freedom to be the child of God that He truly made me to be. As I've grown and found freedom to learn and become the woman God made me to be, there still have been trials in life. I had a miscarriage 10 years ago. That was one of the darkest times of my life. I definitely had depression back then, but didn't realize it at the time. Through the moves, starting my business 3 times, I started having awful anxiety attacks. It's funny how I could have the worst anxiety attack, yet make myself get up and keep moving throughout the day, and no one would have ever known what had happened at 4 a.m. that day. It finally got so bad that I started meeting with a therapist. Then last year, I started working with a life coach, which has been life-changing for me. For me, things don't happen in huge things that everyone around me sees. It's more of small changes that I keep practicing as I work at becoming the woman that I want to be. It's a constant practice and will always be something that I work on as time goes on. I tell you all of this because this is why I created Women Empowering Women. For us to hear people's stories, see where they've come from, what they are going through, and where they are today. So we can learn to truly understand what it means to hold space for another person. Free of judgment, free of trying to shape them into what we or the world expects them to be, but to accept them just as they are and let them shine as the beautiful, amazing, radiant person they are today. I want each of you to understand the power and the impact we have on each other and in this world just by lifting others up and cheering them on, by truly allowing them to be the person they were made to be. Do I deal with insecurities? All the time. Do I still have to work on my mindset and get over things that my mind is telling me that I know aren't true? Yep, definitely. So I made a list of a few things that I can give you as things that I have learned and will continue to learn. And feel free to engage or add to these if you guys, any of them resonate with you. Don't judge a book by its cover. God made each of us unique and beautiful, and it is a true gift to this world. We can learn so much from someone who is different than us, and they might even push us out of their comfort zone a little bit. Get uncomfortable. Why is it that we as humans do not like being uncomfortable? When I have allowed myself to be uncomfortable and show up or do something that I am so scared of, often bigger and better things come from it. I'm an introvert. Although I love people, yet big groups are not my thing. Yet the more I open up and share and connect with people, the more I meet some incredible human beings that are doing so many incredible things in this world. Also, getting uncomfortable allows us to grow way more than we ever imagined. Lift others up. We as women sometimes can be so critical and tearing each other down. I work in one of the most competitive fields. Think about how many photographers you know. Even Uncle Bob, Cousin Mary. I love meeting up with other photographers and learning about them and what they do. I love telling them about the potential that there is in this field and how it can be life-changing and an incredible gift to this world. So if you struggle connecting with others in your line of work, or if you just stay in your own little world, I encourage you to branch out, meet one person for coffee, get to know them. You never know where it might lead. Build your community. I've been the newbie in 5 locations. Being new can be so hard. I remember being with my babies like we visited in Chattanooga, I think it was 17 churches, and I almost can't do this anymore. But showing up at a new church or a new school can often be the hardest. Or walking into a room full of people who know your name, but you don't know theirs, so awkward. Saying who you are over and over and telling the same story can get exhausting. But I've also learned that if you just sit home and be alone, you'll never meet these amazing people. If I hadn't gotten out and started meeting people here in Ripon, I would never know the amazing people in this community. Remember to fill your own cup. Us as women often have hearts of service, which is incredible. It's amazing. We do so much for our community, but don't forget to fill your own cup. When you do that, you have so much more to give. So if you are to the point of exhaustion or just feel like you need a break, it's okay to say no. I'm learning that too. You then create space for others to serve and be a part of something that is a blessing to them. So as much as it goes against everything in our being, it's okay to put yourself first. Which those words sound so weird to us sometimes. When we are healthy and have a clear vision of what we want in life, it blesses those around us so much more. If we are serving from a heart of exhaustion or serving just because it is what we do or is expected of us, then it's coming from an empty cup. So go fill your cup. Show grace. For me, my faith in Jesus is number one. Does that mean I'm a perfect Christian who never messes up? Nope. I mess up all the time. I'm definitely far from perfect, but I do know what true grace is all about. I grew up in a place full of judgment, and I'm so thankful that God opened my eyes to what His true grace is all about. Then it also allows me to show that grace to others. There truly is nothing more amazing than this. I wish everyone could know and understand what this means. If we even showed grace before we judged or got angry at someone, or just took a minute before responding, can we imagine how much kinder people would respond to us? Be open to new things. There are things that I have done that I never could imagine. Marrying Joe and moving 5 times across the country, never thought that would happen. But other things like knowing that I needed help and seeking it out, or calling a friend, hiring a life coach, never imagined I'd invest in anything like that. Being open to new things, people, places, you just never know where it might lead. Doors could be opened that you never knew were a possibility. Be open to trying new things. Often the things we fear or are scared of really aren't that big of a deal, and it will push us even more forward. Hold space for others. For me, this means to allow a person to be who they are and listen to them. We as women often want to fix things or do things for them. Sometimes we just need to hold space, accept them, be there, just listen. And we know that we've got their back. This is a great gift to learn and to give. Do it scared. Often fear holds us back from so much. I hear it all the time when talking to people. They have this dream. They want to do this. But you're doing it. Someday. Or it isn't possible, or they don't know how. One thing I've learned a lot over the past year or two is that sometimes you just need to try it. What's the worst that can happen? Failure helps you succeed. Just do it. Is there something that God has placed on your heart that you are scared to do? A friend told me once that God places something on your heart as a gift to you. If you don't use it, then eventually He'll give it to someone else who will use it. It is a huge blessing when someone has placed something. It is a huge blessing when something has been placed on your heart. So I encourage you, just take one little tiny step. Take little steps to move forward and see where it leads. It could be life-changing. Last Be still. When you find time to be still, be quiet, that is truly where the magic happens. Think of our lives and how busy we women are. I feel like a ping pong ball most days, bouncing here, there, and everywhere. And our minds are just, yeah, a lot of to-do lists. But allowing ourselves to just schedule time to literally just be still, be quiet, to dream, to meditate, to pray, just be still. Seriously, I've learned those, just taking time for that is truly where these things are, your mind just like, oh, I didn't even know I was thinking about that, or that's something I need to do, or it just allows things to be revealed to you. So I encourage you to find time to be still in your life. So who is Rachael Venema? I am a radiant queen who loves connecting with others and living out her purpose in this life. Thank you.